Hi, new location now. I was going to show you my bookcases, but I want all my books because I love reading, in case you didn't know. But I can't turn the camera around. Ready? Chapter 9. As the days passed, the tiny attic room of Beggins Hall seemed to shrink around them. It rained constantly, and they couldn't keep up with mending the leaks in the roof. Parthena took shelter inside with them, but their few possessions were crammed into the corner, and with one mattress too soggy to sleep on, they squished together on the other and fought over the scratchy blankets. Let's go. There's no sense in just sitting around here for a message that won't come. Come on, Arthur said. Maudie took a deep breath. What is it? Maybe we should just face the facts we haven't heard from Harriet Culpepper. The official start is tomorrow morning. There's still time. Let's go down to the dockyard. Maybe we can stow away on her ship, or someone else's. It's getting too close. We need more time to plan. We have to do something. Maudie looked down and twisted a ribbon in her hands. Perhaps we have to come to terms with the idea that we may never know the truth about Dad. I can't believe you're saying that. Arthur couldn't accept it. He never would. We'll find a way. Dad sent the locket back because it means something, and we need to find out what. He hated when they argued because it made him feel the threat of being alone. She was the only one who truly understood him, especially with Dad gone. But I don't see how. There was a tap on the window. Artie, it's Queenie. A great fluffy face pressed against the glass. Maudie opened up the window and the cat leapt inside. There's something around her neck. She unclasped a silver tube from Queenie's collar and carefully removed a rolled-up paper from inside. The cat gave a satisfied "Prrrt." Peritha screeched angrily, but Queenie turned up her nose, jumped back up to the window, and padded away across the rooftop. Maudie opened the scroll and read, Dear Arthur and Maudie, I'm pleased to offer you both positions as crew members on the transcontinental expedition and race to the South Polaris. Arthur as cook's help and Maudie as second engineer. The Geographical Society has set the challenge to start at 8 chimes promptly tomorrow. We will depart from number 4 Archangel Street. Please take extra care until departure. There have been a series of curious incidents and accidents affecting other ships. Yours with faith, Miss Harriet Culpepper. Arthur's heart raced. Harriet wanted them on her crew. They were really going. This is it, Maudie. He felt he could explode with happiness. He whooped and danced around the tiny attic room. Maudie giggled. Bright storms! They froze. Get yourselves down here. Arthur stuffed the note in his pocket. Come on, at least we won't have to put up with this much longer, Maudie said. Not even she can spoil my mood. Arthur smiled. They ran down the stairs and heard voices coming from the dining room. A sickly sweet scent wafted towards them, some sort of botanical perfume, but it was unlike the scent of flowers in their old garden or the blossoms at Archangel Street. They slowly opened the door. A woman dressed from head to toe in pale pink stood beside Mrs. Beggins, a distinctive silver brooch on her jacket. Every inch of her seemed perfect. The cut of her skirt and jacket, the precision of her cheekbones, the small sweet nose, her silky braided hair, and perfect rosebud lips. It was Dora Vane. If you could let me speak with them alone, Mrs. Beggins, she said, her voice soft and slow, as sugary as the scent carried on the draught. Mrs. Beggins flushed red, flustered to be in such company. Of course, madam. If I'd known you were coming, I would have made the lazy blighters work twice as hard to get the house clean. Just let me know when you need the little miss to mend on your ship, and we'll arrange terms. She gave a nod, sovereigns almost replacing her eyes. After the door closed, Madame Vane indicated for them to sit. She sat herself opposite and neatly clasped her pink lace gloves hands. "My name is Madame Vane," she paused and smiled, "but why don't you call me Adora?" Arthur frowned at Maudie. What could she want? Adora Vane's explorer tattoo showed on her wrist, a beautiful winged serpent clutching a ring. On the bottom, a small flying creature, identical to her brooch, clasped a rose. "Pardon me, Madame Vane, but what can we do for you?" Arthur said. Adora Vane smiled. "I told Mrs. Beggins that I needed some work on my ship and was looking for young workers to help. Smaller crew who can reach further into holes. I said that I must speak to you confidentially on account of the secrecy I require on all matters pertaining to my ship." She winked. "You want us to work for you?" Maudie said curiously. Adora Vane shook her head. "No, I'm not in the business of employing children to do my work, like some in the shipyard. All those dreadful pitch mines. What happened to your father and his crew was terrible. Believe me when I say I understand how awful it must have been for you. When I discovered you had lost your home, I just had to find you." Her eyes roamed around the dark room. "It took me a while to track you down. What a despicable act by your former housekeeper to abandon you." She leant forward, "And then I heard that you had responded to Miss Culpepper's expedition advertisement." "How do you know about that?" Arthur said. "Word gets around in explorer circles. Maudie started, but Arthur nudged her under the table. "Don't worry, I won't say a thing to these dreadful people," Adora Vane whispered. "But do you really think your father would have wanted you to follow in his footsteps and risk your lives?" She paused. "I understand you wanted to get away from your situation, but I've been thinking there must be more to it." Arthur thought for a moment. He couldn't see the harm in telling her. Maybe she could help. Dad's hawk, Perentha, flew all the way back, and she brought his locket, a locket he never took off. "A hawk? A serpent, then? Curious indeed. So you think there is more to what happened out there?" Arthur shrugged. "Maybe. We saw the prints of beasts in the snow. There were no survivors, I can assure you. We checked the area thoroughly," Adora Vane said with conviction. "He couldn't have sent it back in the middle of an attack. So you think he somehow survived?" "We know the chances are slim, but—" Madame Vane leant back in her seat. "Conditions down there are harsh, Arthur. As you say, his hawk never left his side. So by your own logic, she wouldn't have left him while he was alive." She was right, but it still didn't fit. "I know you both want to cling to some shred of hope. We all do. But perhaps the bird found his locket after the attack and somehow made her own way back." Arthur didn't want to hear any more. "We should be getting on with our chores." "Please, I want to help you. I can pay the rental of a small house on the edge of Longtown. It will be all yours. I can find you both respectable work where people needn't know your name or heritage, and you won't need to answer to anyone. Perhaps in the Seam Master House of West Side. They're always in need of young apprentice. I'm very well connected down there." "Excuse me, Madame Vane, but why would you help us?" Maudie asked. "Because what happened isn't your fault, and an expedition is no place for children." "We're 12 and 2 moons," Arthur said. While the idea of a warm place and security was an offer they might never see again, Arthur felt the weight of Dad's locket against his chest. He looked at Maudie. He didn't want to give up. Maudie sighed. "Thank you, but we can't accept your offer," she said. Adora Vane gave a gentle nod of acceptance. "I understand, but at least think about it." She stood and walked to the door, then paused. Oh, there is one more thing. Miss Culpepper's attempt is rather naive, I'm afraid. She may appear exciting, quite the young explorer, but she has no experience of the third continent. She doesn't even have a worthy skyship. She's hired quite a miserable thing, I'm afraid. If you don't believe me, you should go and see it for yourself. The Sojourn, down in the docks. I've been preparing and adapting my ship for another attempt since I returned. Arthur and Maudie couldn't help exchanging a panicked look. The Victorious is far better equipped for the journey than any skyship in the first continent. I would say that with my recent modifications, it is indeed the best ship Lanterne has ever seen. Perhaps I could show you one day if you accept my offer. Maudie's eyes were bright with interest. Adora's gaze settled on Maudie's hair. What a lovely ribbon! I should give you one from my own collection, something with a softer hue to it. I adore beautiful things and textures, fur, feathers, silk. She sighed. So you'll think about my offer? It might be your ticket back to Lanterne society. A warm bed in a non-leaky room in Westside sounded like luxury, but Arthur knew he could never be happy, no matter where he was in Lanterne, not until he tried to find out what had really happened. Adora read the expressions on the twins' faces and seemed resigned. Independent spirit, I admire that. She opened the door and stepped out into the hall before turning back. I find it my duty to offer you a way out. You understand, don't you? We do. We really do appreciate your offer, Arthur said. I set off in the morning, so you'll need to act quickly. Come to Vane Manor by 7 chimes this evening if you want to accept. If not, I'll assume you're not interested. She smiled graciously, then left. Her sweet perfume lingered in the room. Arthur was quiet for a while before saying, You weren't thinking of taking her up on her offer of help, were you? Maudie paused, then shook her head. I mean, trying to tell us Harriet's not a good, worthy ship, he said. They both let out a nervous laugh, then fell silent. If Harriet really does mean to use the Sojourn, well, I have seen it down at the dockyards, and it's not very big or well maintained. It's a bit of a wreck, really, although maybe Madame Vane was misinformed. We could check to be sure, Maudie said. Audie took the note from his pocket and nodded. Let's finish the chores, cook dinner, then sneak back to Archanger Street. We can ask Harriet directly about the ship. Bye.